Do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
What the is that, dude?
G'day, folks. How are you? Hope you're doing all right. It's been a bit of a fun journey the last few days. If you're into the circus, go Queensland. Did you watch it? I know plenty of people who didn't bother. An absolute shitload of people who didn't bother. But I dare say the ratings were still right up there because, well, let's face it, State of Origin is definitely a bread, call it pizza, and circus, call it the game, night. And there'll be another couple coming our way. I do feel for, I did read his name. What's his name? Reece Walsh, who got pounded early in the game, apparently, and was seeing fairies, which is probably not the kind of thing you want to see on a rugby league field, just saying. But a little bit weird. I'm looking around because I have something exciting to show you. I'm doing things from a different place tonight. Back on the laptop, using the laptop only. I have a phone, my phone. I have another phone. And I have another phone for a reason. But that phone, being a bloody Android phone, doesn't seem to want to do anything. It's taking forever to start up, which would make it very difficult for me to tell you what I want to, or show you what I want to show you. So while it's having a think about it, let's go back up into the start of the room here and see who was in. Jay won first in the night tonight, mate. Well done. And a boom it is. DM in there. Zab too. Nice to see you. If anybody happens to be in contact with John Wilson, he might be in contact with a fella called Stav. And Stav, if you are hanging around John Wilson, and that's all fine, that's all good. But can you please contact Chook in Melbourne? It's urgent. So, Stav, if you're hanging out with John, it's not got nothing to do with John. It's just that we know that Stav, well, last time we heard Stav was with John. So if that is the case, we just can't seem to raise him at the moment. And there is a matter of urgency in Melbourne that he needs to be made aware of. So contact Chook. That'll all mean something to Stav, I'm sure. Brett's in the house. Maria, Agate Master. Dusty, hello, Caroline. Caroline, is that how you'd say it? I think you probably would. I used to work with a girl called Caroline. It wasn't Sebi, it was Circe. She wound up on Foxtel, I think, reading news there at one stage. Hello, Aussie Sue. Lovely to have you in, one of our magnificent mods. Paul, good to have you back, mate. Great regular. And Michelle Bradley Smith is smiling from her moderator's chair again this evening, I trust. Hello, Zippy. G'day. Jack, you're in the room. Haven't seen you around for a while. Although I've been a little bit erratic, so my apologies for that. G'day, Baz. All right, we'll get down there. All right, it's all looking like this thing might nearly be ready to work. I say that with my tongue firmly planted in my cheek. But let's give it a crack and just see. I'm not even sure whether or not the card in this thing works. Well, I don't know what the hell I'm ringing, but this is... Oh, yes, it is ringing. Righto. So I'm ringing here, and it's in that. Okay. And it says, it's me. So, righto. Why have I shown you this? Well, yesterday was a very big day for me. I had to go and pack up where I was living, and I'm still not finished. And when I got there was quite a lot of mail for me to check out. One of the more surprising things that came was this. Oops, I'll turn it that way. Can you see that? It's getting a bit funny for a... There, put it that way. It's a Milo tin. Now, what would I be doing with a Milo tin? I hear you say. It doesn't make a great deal of sense, I grant you. However, if we crack the Milo tin lid, and I'm going to need to crack that with something sharp, we open that up, and I'll try and show you what's inside the Milo tin. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. Who sends an empty Milo tin? Seriously. Well, there is one man that I know of that would send me an empty Milo tin, and his name is Black Sheep. He lives in Tasmania, and God love him. This Milo tin happens to be lined with cardboard. Now, all that is just put in there. It's not stuck to the inside of the tin or anything like that. It's just in there. The only bit that is stuck is the bit that's on the inside of the lid. So you saw me with this phone before, which is telling me, oh, look, it's telling me all sorts of things, new activities and yada, yada, yada. All right, so it's actually working. All turned on. I'm just dropping it straight in the tin. I'm putting the lid on the tin and putting the lid on solid. And now I will go and try and ring this phone again. It's having a hard time finding it. Having a very, very hard time finding it.
The person you are calling is not available.
How interesting. So if you've ever wanted a bit of security for your own mobile phone, although that's interesting, I just felt it vibrate. Might have been turning itself off. A lined Milo tin, just with cardboard. But if you wanted to get really funny about it, you could actually build yourself a little wire cage and put in there. It'd be a Faraday cage, and that would protect all your electronics. It would also keep them from listening to you, and it would stop them being tracked. So I thought that, among the many other small things that he sent me, including, which I will go to show you. I'm going to forget I put that phone in there. You watch. And that phone's going to be important to you guys soon. That is actually the phone that will be used as our call-in line on the radio station and possibly on this show, if I can figure out how to make it work that way. There are a couple of things that he sent me. This is $1 American. I don't know if you can see the top of the pyramid there. Oh, this thing keeps blurring out. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Basically on the left of screen there is the pyramid. If I could get it close, I can't even see what I'm doing. Go. There we go. In there. So that's a $1 bill. An American $1 bill shows the all-seeing eye, the Illuminati eye, all on top of it. He also sent me a magnificent little prayer book. And I can't thank him enough for that. Thank you, brother. This is the little prayer book. It's old. And I had forgotten how much I enjoyed old books. And when I met Black Sheep in Tasmania, a bit over a year ago, a couple of years ago nearly, he is a holder of many old books, and particularly religious ones from all different kinds of religions. And it's an amazing journey. There is also another book that I've heard about recently, and I'm following the lady that found this and bought it because she's going to be essentially reading it, and I'm live, and I'm very keen to listen to how that works out, unless you can't read, of course. That'll be really painful. However, the book is called The Encyclopedia of Wit and Wisdom, and it is pre-1880. So it's very rare that we find too many books pre-1880. And there is a reason for that, because there is a history change going on. And they certainly don't want to find those true books, but there are some available to the public if you're lucky enough to find them. And I'm still looking for somebody who's got a pre-1958 version of the Encyclopedia Britannica. I'm very interested, earlier the better. I'm very interested to hear or see what they've written about Antarctica, because a lot of the encyclopedic history of Antarctica, in fact, not a lot, all of it, changed after 1958. Why is that? Don't know. Why do I think that if I haven't seen it for myself? Well, I've seen it online with other people with access to those sorts of books, but I am a skeptic, so I want to see it myself. And like I'm sure you would if you had the opportunity. So yeah, if anybody just happens to know, an old book sleuth, somebody with a very old library, I get it that most of the people with the very old libraries aren't going to be playing on our team. So, it's a high hope. Let's put it that way. A very high hope. So yes, thank you to Black Sheep, and thank you too, brother, for the koalas. Really appreciate it. Which leads me into, and he actually sent me an older one too, which isn't a koala. I am yet to talk with him about just how special this coin might be, but this coin comes from 1965. That's the year of my birth. I don't know if he meant that or not, but that is a very special coin to me now. How interesting. I doubt I'll be able to show you. Oh yeah, you can see it. So it has a young QE2 on the back. And who would you suspect would be on the front, bearing in mind it's 1965? Tick, tick, tick. Time's up. Churchill. I find that most interesting for a variety of reasons. Thank you, Black Sheep. You're a marvelous man. I can't thank you enough. There's a few people I call if I'm having a down day. If life's given me the shits, and he is one of them. And I can't thank him enough for his friendship. And another one is Tony Alvarez, who I spoke to today at length. Tony from Oberon Estate, magnificent place if you're going looking for a holiday, looking for a venue to take people. Lake Oberon Estate down at Oberon is absolutely the place for you, and they get a bit of snow during the high winter months. So, from August on, you might see a bit of snow around at your front door, which is really great until it comes inside. But Tony, marvelous mate, and of course Vince. And in the last week or so, I've relied heavily on a few people to lighten my load a little bit. There's been some shit going on in the background. Aside from everything that I've been talking about here, it's in my personal life, and more to do with Laura than anything else. And I've just been. She's okay. Everything's all right. Don't worry about that. It's just we had a bit of a coming together, but we saw each other yesterday for the first time in a couple of weeks, and it was good. So I've missed her. But yeah. So thank you to those people, and. Blokes being blokes. And I also want to reach out to the Galactic Larrikins and thank them. They seem to know exactly when to call, bastards. It's quite embarrassing. And to that end, the Galactic Larrikins have been asking me to come up to their new den. I didn't say of iniquity. I just said den. And check it out. So they are Sunshine Coast way these days. So I will endeavour to head up there, and that will be made a lot easier now because thanks to one of the community members here who came and helped me today get the engine cowling off the top of the motor, and that's why I'm not sitting where I normally sit. I can't because we haven't quite finished the work yet. there's a little bit left to do, and I had to go down onto the Gold Coast today to buy some supplies to do that. Thankfully, it was only foam, so and it didn't cost me 3 tyres, so that was even better. But we'll fix her up tomorrow. But the hoses, the leak, we are just about 100% confident that there is no more leak. So I'm chuffed about that. And I was meant to get the new awning. Those of you who've been following along on this journey, I think in October, was it last year, while travelling down the Western Highway between Ballarat and 4 kilometres out of Bacchus Marsh, the front part of the awning blew open for no apparent reason, just came open. But the back part stayed fine, and that meant that there was sort of a V of awning. Well, not for very long at 100 kilometres an hour, as it turns out, because it gets ripped to shit and flies up, turns into confetti, and you get the truck drivers getting on the CB laughing at you, saying, you got confetti all over your car, or over your bus. So, it was an embarrassing moment. But thanks to all the truckies who tooted and waved as I was on the roof trying to cut what was left of the awning off that afternoon. Anyway, that was October. When I got back here, it was early December, I want to say, and I had to get it assessed. The assessment didn't happen until the 28th of February. That was the first date they could get. 26th of February, beg your pardon. That was the first date they could get to me. And the assessment took all of 10 seconds. The bloke walked up, looked at it and said, you need a new awning. I said, yeah, okay. So that was good. I missed the date yesterday to get the new awning put on, which is a bugger because of this hose issue. We fixed that today, and we'll get a new awning on the 12th. So after that, you can probably expect me heading to the Galactic Larrikins for a day or 3 just to catch up with them. And there might be some interesting things that happen in between, which I guess we'll get to now. The family that we have here around Voice of Freedom never ceases to amaze me, and I'm honoured that so many of you think enough of me and what I say to help support us here at Voice of Freedom and FBN. I can't thank you enough. You'll know that we've been trying to get up to far north Queensland for, I don't know, been talking about it for a few months. The plan was to always head up around this sort of time. It has been extremely wet up there, so there's been no real urgency at this juncture. But there was always a central goal in mind of being in Cooktown for the Cooktown Discovery Festival. Now, Cooktown is a very, very interesting town. I would commend you, if you have the opportunity, to come to Cooktown for the Discovery Festival on the 14th to the 16th of June, if you happen to be up that way. I know if you're, further down south, it's a bloody long way to go to Cooktown. However, it looks like the locals are so keen to get me there that they're going to shout me an airfare to go up there, and we'll do a couple of shows from the Discovery Festival. I'm really looking forward to coming up to it. And at this stage of the game, I'll probably be heading up on the 13th and then driving from Cairns to Cooktown, which is about a 4.5 hour drive. I'm led to believe 4.5, 5 hour drive. So if you are up that way and of a mind, you want to catch up, we're going to stay around in Cooktown for a couple of days, and there is a very high probability Cairns News will be floating around with me there too. So there is a good opportunity to get involved with the locals and learn some of the issues that they're facing up there, fluoride being one of them. The local population didn't particularly want fluoride in their water, but of course we know how local councils work, and they've just had new council elections, so fingers crossed there is some new blood in the council and can see a way forward. So we're looking forward to heading up to Cooktown. Looks like it'll be, as I say, on the 13th. and probably staying in Cooktown for the better part of the following week. And then we will be back in Cairns by the 21st of June for the first Tucker Carlson evening, being presented by Clive Palmer and his company, Mineralogy. Very interested to hear what Tucker is coming to Australia to say, and more particularly, no, I'm looking at other things too, but it looks like be heading to that. And if I'm not actually able to get to the Tucker Carlson Cairns night, Cass and I actually have tickets and an invitation to go to a press conference on the following night in Brisbane. Tickets are available if you want to events through ticketek.com.au. I'm pretty sure it is. Just type in Tucker Carlson tour, and the tour goes from memory Cairns, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, back to back. So 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. The 25th is the ICC Theatre in Sydney, I want to say. And then there is another week, and then it'll be the 1st of July in Melbourne for the Tucker Carlson evening. Now, I know that there is also a luncheon happening in Canberra at some stage as well. So if you are interested in tickets, ticketek.com.au, but why don't you come up and see what there is to do and what there is to learn at the Discovery Festival in Cooktown. I can't emphasize enough the hidden history of Australia and how significant Cooktown is to it, in my belief. So the only place you're ever going to find those answers is in Cooktown. And the Discovery Festival is about when Captain Cook landed there. Why did Captain Cook land at Cooktown? Well, he crashed into the Barrier Reef, put a bloody great hole in the bottom of the Endeavour, and I think there was a mast problem, a big, serious mast problem, meaning the mast needed to be replaced. They wound up spending some months in what is now Cooktown on the Endeavour River, living with the locals, the local Aboriginal population. They wrote about them. They drew sketches of them about their daily life and everything else. And then eventually the wood dried out, got shaped to what they needed, got put back in the boat, and the Endeavour up sails and off she chuffed. Had Captain Cook planted the flag for England at that stage on Australian soil? No, he hadn't. Most people, when asked, where did Captain Cook plant the flag to declare Australia terra nullius and part of the British Commonwealth? Most people say, Botany Bay, 1770, the town of 1770. All good guesses. I said both of them too. The answer is no. A small island in the Torres Strait is where he declared Australia terra nullius, because there was nobody on that small island in the Torres Strait. Now, under pretty much any court of law, particularly of the day, and well, they're probably not going to be in our favour today, but if it was a court with a bent for justice, then you might find that the entire declaration of Australia as terra nullius and being declared part of the British Commonwealth to be void, because it was a lie. It essentially was a soft invasion, but it was a lie nonetheless. Cook did not declare terra nullius on the Australian mainland. He declared it from a small island in the Torres Strait. So where does that leave us standing in the future? Well, Cooktown's a really interesting place to learn all about this kind of history, folks. So why don't you come and join us? Be a hell of a road trip. Meet you at the airport. Be a lot of fun. Bring a two-way radio. I'll bring one. We can argue about who's going near the water, because I won't be. Crocodiles. Big crocodiles. But I am very keen to get up there and check out the Lion's Den. Very keen to check. I've heard so much about the Lion's Den, so fingers crossed we'll get a show done out of the Lion's Den. It's a pretty good place. Not too sure what Tucker Carlson is. Gravy trains. Yeah, I would watch this space. There is a lot of things to be said. Well, I beg your pardon, a lot of things that have been said about Tucker Carlson, including that he was going to be Donald Trump's running mate in this election, which may or may not happen. Mind you, Sean Hannity, I think, was also thrown up as a running mate at one stage too, and haven't seen too much of Hannity. I guess he's wanted to keep his job at Fox News, whereas Tucker Carlson is, I think, more interested in telling the truth. And from a personal perspective, if I had an opportunity to talk with him, I would be asking him about the pitfalls of setting up the Tucker Carlson network. And if there was any advice he could give Cass and I on setting up FBN Media, because it's ostensibly the same thing. We just plan on having a few more bodies rather than just one head on it. So if I had that opportunity to speak with him, that's sort of where I'd be going with on at a personal level. I'd certainly have a few questions about geopolitics for him. Would enjoy that chat, but I don't think they're going to allow me to do an interview. They're not doing long form interviews. Certainly, they may do the odd radio bit, but that'll be with the likes of Kyle or somebody like that. If Kyle were to talk to him, and let's face it, Kyle's probably the only one. Kyle Sandlands, I'm talking about, is probably the only one in commercial radio that would actually have the power to get away with putting him on the air. I think every other mainstream commercial media outlet will ignore the fact that Tucker Carlson is in Australia, other than very short bits where they will be disparaging against whatever he's talking about, and they will link him to some Clive mania or something that is going to try and dissuade people from wanting to follow on and have a look deeper. Daniel, well, that's interesting. Yeah, well, Russell-J full colon good would be a good interview, I thought. I guess the question is, how deeply down the rabbit holes has Tucker gone? And I don't think very far at all. In fact, I don't know if you watched the live I did the other day where I spoke about Pascal Najadi's most recent encounter with the lady from Project Camelot, Kerry Cassidy. Boy, she can be abrasive, can't she? There's a lot of things I could say about that interview, but I'll just simply restate my beliefs about that interview. I think both of them let on more about themselves and their own level of knowledge, call it awakeness, whatever you want to call it rabbit hole diving. She seemed to be wanting to point score about how many rabbit holes and how many important people she'd spoken to. She seemed to be doing this interview under duress. She was angry right from the outset. I don't know. I've never really watched her. Is she always like that? I couldn't watch it if she was always like that. I was enthralled watching that interview because I just could not believe she was descending into having an argument with a guest. But that's what happens when people who aren't used to doing this kind of thing have a go. So you can't get all upset at him. I'm not upset. I'm just very surprised, and particularly surprised that her ego is so strong, and yet her level of knowledge on the Torah and the Talmud seems to be non-existent. She doesn't know the difference. If she did know the difference, then it doesn't negate the questions or the follow-up or even the reaction that she had to what he was saying about Jews needing to be killed. She, I think, is approaching it from a Christian perspective. I don't think it's quite turned the other cheek, but I don't think there's too many Christians that want to line up 8 million people and shoot them either. However, if there are 8 million Satanists, does that make a difference? The Satanists aren't going to give up. If you leave them alive, they're going to reform, repopulate. They don't care if it takes another 1,000 years. They will grow the movement. So if these people have been confirmed Satanists, if they have been caught and there is, what they're saying is, we've got everything, we've seen everything, we have all the emails, we've got the phone calls, we've got the videos. So if anybody has been involved in any of that, then yes, I suggest you're probably going to have a very hard time of it when the knock comes on your door. Is that a bad thing? Will I'm a Jew get you out of it? Oh, we're persecuting the Jews again. Well, no, I think that would be an overstatement until you've seen the evidence the other side is going to present. Now, if you don't think that their evidence of whatever the Jews have supposedly been doing, including sacrifices under synagogues and, what they do to Goyim. I'm trying not to get banned off any of these channels, so I won't go into it. But hamburger meats, all that sort of stuff. This comes from Talmud following Jews. I'm not suggesting for one moment that all Jews are evil, bad, or need to be shot. And I think there was a bit of a gap in the conversation with Kerry Cassidy and Pascal Najati. And both of them had a disconnect. They were arguing from two different positions. And the problem was each agreed with the other's actual position, but weren't listening to each other. The most important things you can do in an interview, shut up and listen. But there was very little of that going on, and I've found it probably to be a distraction more than anything else. If that's the way that she conducts interviews, then I'm shocked and surprised. But she also claims to be a great friend of Ricardo Bosi, I've since found out, and would defend Ricardo to the death. Well, you see, that's where Ricardo has magically been able to hide behind the magic Wizard of Oz curtain again, because he's been over there planting the seeds for 2 years, telling people what a marvelous man he is, and all special forces, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm not dismissing his service in any way, shape, or form. I thank him for it. However, it's how it's now being used, particularly on the American front. And now it appears that he seems under pressure here in Australia, that he's going off to reap the benefits of what he's sown, and that harvest is going to be cash, I reckon. So I'll be interested to watch this space, because there are some people who I think, would just be more disappointed if that were the case. But I got to tell you, I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I've been telling you it was going to happen since he stopped talking to me and started madly trying to fight his way into America. And I don't know if Dave's told the story, but Dave certainly told me that as soon as this whole saga erupted, Bosi wasn't on the phone trying to rectify the situation. He was on the horn to the Americans, telling them not to listen to Dave Graham anymore. He's not to be trusted. Probably a Freemason. And and has tried to wedge Dave out of those chats that they've been doing. Funnily enough, that's how Bosey got in there. Dave was the one who went and did the legwork to get them into them, but now has been dismissed effectively from them. I think he's fighting back, and God love him for it. There'll be more to come on that shore, I think, in the not too distant future. So I've had a number of conversations with people about, they think it's corruption going on with Bosey, and I don't think that's the case at all. I think there's just been a few life issues that have created a few problems, and some of it seems to have gotten out of hand. Don't think any of it couldn't be fixed, but the core issues when it comes to leadership in this country, or and we keep saying it's not about leaders, it's not about, we all have to stand up, and I understand what Rick was saying about that. Yes, somebody's got to be the one talking about us all standing up, but I don't think now, less than ever before, that much of his A1 party, let alone much of Australia, would follow him. But that doesn't mean that A1 is dead. It just means it needs a change of direction, and it certainly needs to become a lot more transparent and open and communicative with its members, rather than just issuing edicts and sitting in a green room once a week or once a fortnight or once a month or whatever it turns out to be, and spending the rest of your days doing overseas media, which only does one thing. It enhances your profile overseas. It doesn't do anything to help the Australian people. How are 330 million Americans going to help 26 million Australians? Well, I can tell you how some of them are. They're going to send money to one of them. The Lord has asked me to ask you to keep sending in the money. And the Bible Belt, the Midwest evangelical belt, is a very powerful movement, a very large, very strong, very, very powerful movement, and very generous movement, because they're wonderful people. They are true people of God. Genuinely believe. And what do you reckon they genuinely believe? Well, they genuinely believe he's going to be appointed the next Prime Minister of Australia when all this happens. Why do they believe that? Because he told them. He told us too, you might recall, but we laughed. Many of us said, gee, we hope that will be the case, because it'll get things done. However, having seen the style, the operating procedure, the style of leadership, it became very clear that we don't want that at the head of Australia. We don't need a dictator. That's the thing we need. I'll wait for that to come back. I think they have very clear and very good policies, but they have no communication strategy. And I've been speaking with people who helped out during the New South Wales Senate election, particularly for Ricardo Bosey, who manned polling booths for Ricardo Bosey and watched as people who were asked about Ricardo Bosey had no knowledge of who he was. So this is the benefit of having a top-up communication strategy. Because if you only talk to yourself, that's what happens. The rest of the people don't know who the hell you are. If you only talk to your own combined little group, and that's all that's ever going to hear about you, regardless of how much they tell you how wonderful you are and what great impacts you are having, the rigged ballot, well, they had plans to show us how rigged that was. I don't recall seeing much about that as it came out. But I also have worked in commercial radio for 40 years, and I know how to rig a set of numbers. We did it with ratings all the time. Not that you would tell lies about the ratings, not at all. You'd use it, but you'd just tell a very good story about the number that you got and why it was so high, and it was a really good thing. Because if you didn't sell any ads. So there were many strategies like that I sat in on the side of as a producer or as a writer or as a whatever. But yeah. So Rick, I think, is I just think this needs to be addressed, preferably before he gets on any plane and goes overseas. And I still don't know that is actually happening. I mean, it may well be. I don't watch his stuff, or I haven't seen anything he's done the last couple of weeks anyway. So somebody said to me that's what's happening. So if it is, great. If it isn't, well, even better if it isn't. But I would, if he was going to take any advice, it would be to start speaking to the Australians, stop shitting on them. But we've seen his words. Now we're watching his actions. Which speak louder, the words or the actions? So yes, yep. Happy to let people decide for themselves. But Denise, I'm not telling people they shouldn't decide for themselves. But how can people decide if they don't know the playing field or the facts about the situations? And there are a lot more facts to come out. So please don't think I'm being divisive here. What I am doing is drawing attention to certain aspects of character that hitherto have been extremely important to the Bozies. Extremely important that we follow. If we want to be an A1 member, you will jump through these hoops. This is the benchmark we set. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be the benchmark we follow. And that is the problem. Not saying it's an insurmountable problem. Not by a long shot. Can be managed. But you've got to want to. And so far, there is zero indication that he gives a shit about any of this. He's just going to go on blaming us for being divisive. What he should be worried about is when we stop talking about him. Because when we stop talking about him, it's over. It's that simple. So, yeah, sad as it is. Now, what else have I got here that I wanted to show you off to my sides? No. I did have something else in my head to tell you about. Oh, listen, we could use your help at vofhq.com. Become a member. It's easy. It's $1.25 a week. If you could help us out, that would be absolutely amazing. At the moment, until we and we are actually talking to a couple of people now about FBN and getting some sponsorship going from that perspective. Tomorrow, for instance, before midday tomorrow, I will upload Cass's Friday financial segments. This is a Q&A that she actually recorded today, I think, with a lot of questions about self-managed super funds, gold and silver, all that sort of stuff. That'll be going up on the FBN Media YouTube channel before midday tomorrow. And if you have, like I say, any questions or queries, worthwhile just sticking that one on and having a listen, because she and Mary Jane are both in that one, and we'll be able to have already answered a heap of questions. And don't forget, if you have a question for her, you can email her or me, and I'll forward it on, Carl or Cass at vofhq.com. that'll get there. So yes, if you would like to come and be part of the fun, then we'd love to have you. FHQ.com. There is a donate button there, but if you'd like to become a member, we'd love to have you on board. And there will be some membership only things. I'll wait for it to come back again. I think I must be on Starlink and it's dropping out regularly. So if you are a member, you'll get access to this other content that we have plans to deliver. If you aren't a member, you won't. It'll be that simple. So I look forward to seeing you there. Guru's dad is sick. Yes, Guru's dad is sick. Still with us, as far as I'm aware. I'm not saying a word. So as far as I'm aware. Yes, Neville, a lot of people do believe his heart is in the right place unless you happen to be on the receiving end after being very, very close and doing everything. Then he displays something very different to heart, I can tell you. So, no, I think I've probably said enough for the time being. How long have we been going? Nearly been going an hour. My doors are open. I am freezing cold. Parts of me have gone hard I didn't know could, folks. So, I tried to go and get a haircut today. You've got no idea how hard I tried to go and get a haircut today. Thanks to the generosity of one of you, I was able to afford to go and get a haircut today. I went to 2 different hairdressers and there was no chance of getting a haircut. I was wearing, well, they couldn't see my boobs. So the price to get a haircut was $45, which was better than the $80 that somebody tried to charge me the other day. So, did you get the slippers, Carl? No, Rach, I haven't got any slippers. Golden slippers, crystal slippers. I don't know. Isn't there a Cinderella story about slippers? I don't even have a decent pair of Ugg boots. I do have a pair of Ugg boots, but I don't even think they're made out of sheep. What would they make? Like synthetic sheep, I think it's made out of. And the thing with synthetic sheep and my feet, don't get along. Don't get along at all. Smell like a boiled goat. Atrocious. So, yeah, don't even have good Uggies. To stop the mud getting in the bus. Oh, those slippers. I beg your pardon. Yes, Rachel. I have tried that slipper idea, and I can't really show you the floor at the moment, but that's because there is shit everywhere because we've pulled out the front of the bus again. But I will give you a demonstration. So, yes, the filthy, muddy shoes now have a place to live outside that isn't in the rain. And I have a pair of Crocs that I wear in here, if it's okay. Never far from me, except right now, it's out of reach, is the little vacuum. I'm forever walking around here with a bloody vacuum cleaner. After Vince left, I think it still took me another week to find homes for things and finally get to see desktops and countertops and all that. And today, all that's gone back to be reset to 0. So, and it'll stay that way until tomorrow. I'll probably put it all back together again over the weekend. But at the moment, it looks like a bomb's hit it. So, a bit of fun. Just not enough hours in the day. Yes, I was going to give my own hair a cut, Dusty. I have clippers. And I don't know if you've how long you've been here. I just saw the end of that. Many people have suggested I should never cut my own hair again. And I did find a place that I really enjoyed going to get my hair cut. Great bunch of girls in a beard shop. And really enjoyed it. And it was $34, which I still thought was high. But, okay. They do a better job of it than I do. However, I'm nowhere near them anymore. I might be on Saturday, close, and may have time to go in and get a haircut. I may not. If I do, wee, but if I don't, then I'm not going to last the weekend. I will get the clippers out. I may even do a live on it. So if any of you are hairdressers, you can talk me through it while we're doing it. Try and make it a little longer up here, but short around here. That's sort of all I'm really looking for. And I don't want to pay $80 for it. Well, see, now I know in lockdown, so many things changed. Sometimes in relationships, you can get lucky and get to trim others' hairs as well. Just saying. Number 3 mode for the last 37 years. That's pretty much what I use too, mate, all over. But I've got a double crown. So this is why I look like Krusty the Clown. The hair always grows out from the side of my head. And with a double crown comes, I have the craziest hair. It doesn't all go in the one direction. It all goes in different directions, particularly around the crowns. So I don't know. I've never been much into one's hair. Does it tell? Yes, Denise. Yes, very good. I do similar things, and I agree with you. The day does get slower if you ask God to help you slow everything down. I admit, I have tried that. Fern, how dare they keep pushing the elephant? Can I talk about it? No, I don't know what you mean. Pushing the elephant in the room? Pushing that? Well, they have to. If that's what we're talking about, the elephant, yes, righto. The jibbity, right. I would suggest that they have to. They're already 10 knuckles deep in this. They've got to get elbow deep, and they have to. They have to keep pushing it, because their ultimate goal, while they may lose the war, they are going to kill as many of us on the way out as they can. So, yes, I believe that that's why they keep doing it. And it's really only the sheeple who are swallowing it these days. The elderly, which is sad, but bear in mind, they are now tailoring flu and other jab meds to the elderly. Always remember, when you're thinking about how they deal with the elderly, from the day you retire, you are no longer a benefit to the corporation. You are a cost. Now, they might get a whack out of your super in tax if you don't get it out and put it into a self-managed super fund. But they know that as you go into your retirement in your mid-60s, let's say, your health is going to decline. They know they're going to be spending money on you, not making money off you. Where will they spend that money? Well, on pensions and on hospital care, for the most part, because self-funded retirees will be paying their own way through private health, but everybody else will go through the public system, which is paid for by them. Don't say it's paid for by us. It's not. So that's the conundrum we face. Got to learn to push. Got to learn to push back in a way that isn't going to get us all killed. I don't know how we do that. But standing up, local, state, and federal level, I think, is a beginning. Uniting in places like my place, or becoming a large family like we've got here with our chat. And that's one of the things I'm most proud of, the family that we've developed. And it's not me that's developed it, it's you guys. So can't thank you enough for that. Speaking of thanking you enough, we've had a few orders for white hats, given the details, I was mentioning to you about the lady that we were raising money for initially anyway. She is suffering breast cancer, and after going through some extremely expensive oxygen and ozone therapy, which results are unclear, she wound up requiring chemo and radiation, and now there is surgery involved in the not too distant future. Thankfully, not as invasive surgery as was first envisioned. It was first envisioned that she would have a double mastectomy. Now I don't actually understand how this works, but it's more like a really aggressive biopsy that will be had rather than a full mastectomy, I believe. So, however, she is in a situation where got some big bills to get her car roadworthy to get back on the road, like $1,800 worth of bills to get the car roadworthy. And she's in a position where the day after this surgery occurs, she has to go back to work as a cleaner. Otherwise, she won't be able to pay the mortgage. So I said, I've got about 50 or 60 of these hats. Let's see if we can't sell them. The money goes to her and to her family to help them get through. We're selling them for $25 a hat. If you would like a hat to help her out, then please email me and I'll send you back a bank account number that you can deposit them to. And do I have one? Oh, look, I can tell you I'm already at it because I've got bags. I'm sending them out as we speak. So you'll get them. Two or three or four. It's a great call and really going to help a great lady. All right. On that note, I'm going to love you and leave you for tonight. I've got some doors to close, some engine cowling holes I'm going to have to fill up if I'm not going to die of freezing cold in here tonight. And we'll be back at it again, hopefully to fix all this up tomorrow. Might take some video of what we're doing so you've got a bit of an idea of what's been playing out. But very positive news, at least from the perspective of the heater hoses, and no news on the LPG yet. Got let down again by the fella who was coming to help me out with it. But early next week, we'll see. Better not be the 12th because I won't be here. I'll be out dealing with the dickheads on the roads, folks, because I'll be heading off to go and get my my new awning. Very keen to make sure that that goes on the side and stays on the side this time. That'll be the way. Look after yourselves, folks. Have a good night. Hey?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!